A very good morning and welcome to News at 10 on Rajya Sabha Television. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor and here are this hour's headlines. Voting on for the first phase of elections in Uttar Pradesh, over 2.5 crore people to exercise their franchise in 73 constituencies spread over 15 districts. Massive security in place for first phase of elections in Uttar Pradesh. Polling delayed at 4 polling stations due to technical snags in EVMs. Political uncertainty continues in Tamil Nadu over the race for Chief Minister's post. Governor adopts a wait-and-watch policy as Supreme Court judgment on disproportionate assets case against Sasikala likely next week. Second day of Women's Parliament in Amravati today. Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu says the women will get a 33% reservation in Parliament if BJP gets majority in Rajya Sabha. And US President considers a new travel ban executive order even as the old one flounders in courts. Trump administration likely to escalate the matter to the Supreme Court. A top story this morning, the big battle for Uttar Pradesh is on. While polling for 73 assembly constituencies spread over 15 districts in western Uttar Pradesh began voting at 7 this morning amid tight security. Well, this is the first and the biggest phase in which over 2.5 crore voters will cast their votes to elect leaders from 839 candidates from the 4 main contenders, the Samajwadi Party Congress Alliance, BJP, BSP, as well as the Rashtriya Lok Dal. Well, among the electorate are 1.17 crore women and 1,508 belonging to the third gender category. Over 26,823 polling stations have been set up. Polling this morning was delayed due to technical snags in electronic voting machines at 4 polling stations, Sardana, Bagpat, Hathras and Noida. Well, the first phase is expected to see a nail-biting finish with all the parties trying to woo Muslim voters in the districts, including riot-scarred Muzaffarnagar and Shamli. Around 6,000 paramilitary personnel are deployed in all the 887 polling centres in Muzaffarnagar and Shamli. While other districts going to the polls in this phase are Bagpat, Meerut, Ghaziabad, Noida, Hapur, Bulandshahr, Aligarh, Mathura, Hathras and Agra. In the 2012 assembly elections, SP and the BSP had bagged 24 seats each and BJP had 11 out of the 73. Well, the region is also a stronghold of RLD, which had bagged 9 seats, and the Congress had got 5 seats. Well, my colleagues are now joining us on live from various districts of Western Uttar Pradesh. Well, Akhilesh Suman is joining us from Bagpat and Pranav is also joining us live from Noida. Let's go across to Akhilesh first. Akhilesh, now you are in Bagpat. Now, last time BSP had won this election. But speaking about the rest of the political parties, of course, the scenario has completely changed this time. The SP and the Congress are fighting the election at this time together. So instead of a 4-cornered poll, we are seeing a 3-horse race. What are the expectations of all the parties in this particular area where you are in?
Yeah, actually Bagpat is considered to be the heartbeat of Jat area, and you also understand that this is an area where minorities are also in very good numbers. And that is why in Bagpat, 2 constituencies were held by BSP and 1 constituency by Rashtriya Lok Dal, that is led by Ajit Singh. Yes. And Ajit Singh is also member of parliament from this constituency. So you can understand that there is very complex issue that even if RLD is a member of parliament, all the seats are not with RLD. 2 are with BSP. And BJP this time is trying hard to get into this area in the name of development, and you also understand that there has been communal disharmony in this whole Western UP. So BJP is also trying to get foothold in the Jats and non-Jats in this area. But considering the fact that demonetization has also impacted some people, and various people are telling that lack of employment is one of the major issues that they want, and lack of infrastructure also that could not be developed as expected for last 5 years or so. So there are so many factors, some local factors, some national factors are working, and it will be very interesting that when the composition is the same. And as you have told that most strikingly, Samajwadi Party and Congress has joined hand, and that has given an edge. But given the polarization, history of polarization in this area, I think that the results will be very mixed and very interesting, because this area is slightly different from other areas of the UP, like Eastern UP will feel the different type of caste and class equations. In this Western UP will have a different type of class and caste equations. But what is common is everyone is telling that development is the major issue.
Okay.
But on the development, they feel that this party can give major development, that party will give major development. So every section of society has their own definition and own expectation from development.
All right.
But as far as Baghpat is concerned, people are asking that it should be included in NCR region so that we can get as a good benefit as Noida has been getting for last 20 years or so.
All right.
It will be very interesting, and people are coming in very huge numbers since very early in the morning, and there is enthusiasm in both minorities vote and non-minorities vote. So I think that percentage is also going to be a bit higher than the last elections, Aishwarya.
All right. Thank you so much, Akhilesh. So while Baghpat is vying for a spot like Noida, but what is Noida looking at? Let's go across to my colleague Pranav now. Pranav, now this is unlike the Western Uttar Pradesh areas, which are mainly agrarian areas, the rural areas. Now you are in Noida, which is a semi-urban sort of area. So what are the major issues here? Of course, you spoke to a few of the voters there, but they were talking about development in that area. But they were also speaking about the law and order situation there. But what are the other issues? Are the caste in, those religion issues, are they also of any importance in this election?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. There are many issues which are going to be very prominent, specifically if we talk about this region where I am standing right now. There are issues like law and order, there are issues, and obviously caste equation will also play a major role. We know that in entire Uttar Pradesh, caste equation is the very prominent issue. As far as other issues are concerned, we have got some young women voters also. Tell us, what are the main issues you think that's going to be very important in this particular election in Noida and Greater Noida district?
This time in Noida and Greater Noida, as you said, caste issue is a big issue. Like, we don't take it as an issue, but it will matter in terms of elections. Like, our parties are caste biased. But if we talk about issues, we need to work on women empowerment. Now, when we talk about women empowerment, actually, jo cheez we should look after is, there are schemes like Beti Badhao, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Aage Badhao. So the main thing is you should get focused on that population which need it. We are actually doing good in that case. We are blessed that we are doing good. For us, when it comes to us, we need safety and security, which is because Noida,
So for women, obviously the safety, security and law and order issue is very important.
Right.
Sir, आप बताइए कि कौन से मुद्दे
These are the
महत्वपूर्ण
major
आपको लगता है
issues
जब
as
आप
far
voting
as, in fact, Noida is concerned. My colleague Vishal Daya is also now joining us from Agra. Vishal, of course, this is the very crucial phase of elections. This is first phase, and Western Uttar Pradesh is a very sensitive area. This is a ground zero for the 2013 violence in Muzaffarnagar and Shamli. So is that a big issue here? Also, the issue of alleged Hindu exodus is said to be very important. But speaking to the voters, how much importance are they giving it to these issues?
Well, actually, the political parties, time for them is over now. They have raised several issues during the campaign, be it the issue of exodus, be it the issue of criminal law.
All right, there's some issue with the connection there. We'll go back to my colleague Vishal Daya there. But I'm not sure if you're connected with Panchanan. Panchanan is there? All right, we'll get back to Panchanan, but he, in fact, earlier sent us this ground report from Muradnagar district. Let's listen in.
Polling for the first phase in 73 seats of Western Uttar Pradesh is continuing, and we are here, one of the constituency in Muradnagar under the Ghaziabad district, and you can see the large number of people came here to cast their vote since 7 a.m. in the morning, and the queues behind me is witnessing that the peoples are very much excited about exercising their franchisee. We will talk to some of the peoples. भाई साहब आप ये बताएं क्या सोचकर वोट डालने आते हैं, विकास के बारे में क्या सोचते हैं आप?
विकास के बारे में तो ये सोचते हैं कि वोट डालना एक अच्छी बात है।
और क्या सोचते हैं युवाओं के लिए क्या होना चाहिए?
ये भ्रष्टाचार और देश में कुछ तक क्या है, ये गुंडागर्दी ना चले और ये देश।
आप क्या सोचते हैं, नेताओं से क्या उम्मीदें हैं?
सर नेताओं से ये उम्मीदें हैं हमको कि हमारा जो एक नवयुवक है उसको अच्छा रोजगार मिले, अच्छी शिक्षा मिले, और जो आज एक छोटा सा बच्चा पैदा होते ही उसको जिम्मेदारी दे दी जाती है कि आपको अपनी बहन की शादी करनी है। बहुत सारी उम्मीदों के साथ आज हम बदलाव की इस आंधी में वोट डालने आए।
बदलाव की बात हो रही है, आप लोग क्या सोचते हैं इसके बारे में?
जी, देश का विकास हो, क्षेत्र का विकास हो, अच्छे बदलाव
विकास होना चाहिए, भ्रष्टाचार खत्म होना चाहिए, ये सारे काम होने चाहिए, कानून व्यवस्था बनाई जाए,
जिससे कि रोजगार में भी वृद्धि की जाए। और बहुजन समाज पार्टी इस व्यवस्था के लिए सबसे अच्छी पार्टी है जो कानून व्यवस्था और प्रशासन को सही से रखती है।
This election is also very much crucial for all the political parties, including BJP or Congress Samajwadi Party Alliance or BSP, because it may be considered as a big challenge before the 2019 Lok Sabha elections.
All right, so this is a very crucial day for Uttar Pradesh. It is voting in the first phase of elections. Remember, this is a very crucial phase because this will set the tone for the rest of the 6 phases in Uttar Pradesh. The polling is right now on for 73 assembly constituencies, which are spread over 15 districts in Western Uttar Pradesh, while voting began at 7 this morning. My colleague Vishal Daya is now joining us from Agra. Vishal, as you were telling us about Western Uttar Pradesh, which is voting today, this is a very sensitive area because like in 2013, we saw violence in Muzaffarnagar and Shamli, and there was this another issue of Hindu exodus from this area as well. So how important are these issues really for the voters that you have spoken to so far?
Well, as I was saying, Aishwarya, that the time for political parties is over now. They've done their bit. They've raised all those issues during the campaign. They have even had their, arithmetic based on caste or religion, on which basis they had granted tickets to the candidates or their, winnability criteria as well. As far as voters are concerned, going by the fact that there have been long queues outside the polling booth since morning, and the kind of issues which the voters are talking about right now, one thing which is coming out really, really clear is that voters are more concerned about the availability or non-availability of basic amenities, be it the availability of electricity supply, the water, the road connections, the situation of other developmental works in their respective areas, and of course the image of the local candidate. That is what matters. And going by the percentage, the poll percentage which we have got just now from the Election Commission officials for the first 2 hours from Muzaffarnagar, the area which had seen the most communal disharmony in before the elections in 2016, out there the polling percentage for first 2 hours has been 15%. Now that has been the highest in this particular entire Western Uttar Pradesh belt in this polling, today's polling in the first 2 hours. Agra, where I am standing right now, is 12.8%. Mathura, another area which we saw, violence in Jawahar Bagh and several other issues being taken up, is 11%. So, given the fact that the voting percentage has crossed double digit in the first 2 hours itself, is a clear indication that voters are turning out in large numbers. Now, if at all, this momentum of voters is sustained for the rest of the voting day, that's for the next 5 to 6 hours, then clearly, the voter turnout will be huge. And
so the indications at the moment definitely are that the people are going out in large numbers and voting. Of course, the first phase will actually be the ultimate test for the political strategies for all the political parties there. Thank you so much, Vishal. We'll keep coming back to you in the subsequent bulletins. And campaigning will continue for the remaining Uttar Pradesh's phases and the upcoming Uttarakhand elections today. Well, after days of speculation, Mulayam Singh Yadav will address his first election rally for brother Shivpal Yadav in Jaswant Nagar Assembly constituency in Etawah. Well, polling in Jaswant Nagar constituency will take place on 19th of February. As of now, Mulayam Singh is only scheduled to hold only one more rally for his younger daughter-in-law, Aparna Yadav. Meanwhile, the joint roadshow of Rahul Gandhi and Akhilesh Yadav scheduled for Varanasi today stands postponed due to security concerns amid a heavy rush of pilgrims on the occasion of Ravi Das Jayanti. While the roadshow is now scheduled for 17th and 18th of February. However, Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav will address individual rallies in Moradabad, Rampur and Bareilly districts. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also address election rally in UP's Badaयूं district, which goes to polls on 15th of February. He will also be in Uttarakhand's Rudrapur district, election for which is scheduled for 15th of February as well. Well, that was our special segment on assembly elections in 5 states. We'll take a very short break here. We'll be back with more news.
I work primarily in the area of algorithms. We are interested in finding out whether such a program can be made for solving a particular problem and how efficient that would be and how much time the computer is going to take. Looking at all of those aspects of problem solving.
Watch Eureka with Professor Naveen Garg, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, IIT Delhi on Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back after the break. Let's now talk about the political situation in Tamil Nadu. And rival camps made competing claims in Tamil Nadu on Friday, even as the Madras High Court expressed concerns over reports that AIADMK MLAs were being held hostage by Party General Secretary V.K. Sasikala and her aides. Now, reports say that Governor Vidyasagar Rao has sought reports from the police on the matter, while many MLAs from the Sasikala camp asserted that they are not staying against their consent. Now, Chief Minister O. Paneerselvam's faction claimed that the police refused to mark their complaint. Here are all the details.
The AIADMK faction, led by V.S. Sasikala on Friday, suspended E. Madhusudanan from the primary membership of the party. A prominent party leader, Madhusudanan, had on Thursday announced his decision to back Paneerselvam as the chief minister.
He is not elected by the cadre. As per the rule of the MGR, MGR has framed rules. As the rules of the MGR, party cadres can only select the general secretary.
In another latest twist to the political saga, the Paneerselvam-led government hit back. It told the Madras High Court it was incorrect to say that AIADMK MLAs who were reportedly supporting Party General Secretary V.K. Sasikala for the Chief Minister's post were not illegally confined. In response, the court took note of the allegations that at least 20 MLAs were refusing to take food and water because they were being held in confinement.
Paneerselvam didn't give any list of MPs, MLAs of support. He didn't stake any claim. He only wants his resignation to be withdrawn, but that has already been accepted. And he has functioned as a caretaker thing. How can you, it's like putting toothpaste back into the toothpaste.
With several petitions filed and questions being raised about them, the MLAs met the media outside the resort where they were staying in Chennai. Stating that they were not birds in a cage, they denied being held hostage.
Governor இப்போ உள்ள சூழ்நிலை கவர்னர் எப்ப வேணாலும் கூப்பிடலாம். இப்போ உள்ள சூழ்நிலையில கவர்னர் எப்ப வேணாலும் கூப்பிடலாம். அவங்கள 200 கிலோமீட்டர் 300 கிலோமீட்டருக்கு அங்கிட்டு இருக்காங்க. எப்படி ஒண்ணு கூட முடியும்? இப்போ அவங்க எல்லாம் ஒரே ரூம்ல ஒரு காம்பஸ்ல இருக்காங்க. அப்படியே சேர்ந்து வந்து நாங்க எப்ப வேணாலும் கூப்பிடலாம்னு வந்து இருக்காங்க.
Meanwhile, the Supreme Court also refused to give an urgent hearing on a PIL seeking to restrain Sasikala from being sworn in as the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister. It said the hearing will be held in due course after it decides the disproportionate assets case against her within a week. The petition said a law and order situation could develop if Sasikala is indicted after becoming the Chief Minister.
to hear the plea, because Sasikala is not a member of the Legislative Assembly. Her appointment as a Chief Minister would be unconstitutional. Not only that, Sasikala convicted in a disproportionate asset case along with Jayalalitha, so against which the Supreme Court has to deliver the judgment. So until the Supreme Court deliver judgment in that case, our appointment would be illegal.
In a major blow to Sasikala, however, the Congress also refused to support the AIADMK General Secretary in her attempt to become the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister. This was after the state BJP said on Thursday that it will support Paneerselvam's continuation as the Chief Minister of the state. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
On to some other news now. Well, Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu has said that the NDA government would pass the long pending legislation providing 33% reservation for women in the parliament after securing a majority in the Rajya Sabha. Well, Naidu was addressing the first ever National Women's Parliament organized by Andhra Pradesh Legislative Assembly in Amravati on Friday. The three-day convention is being attended by over 10,000 women delegates from across the country and abroad, including women MLAs, MPs and businesswomen. Well, Tibetan spiritual leader the Dalai Lama, Bangladesh Parliament Speaker Shireen Sharmin Chaudhry, Puducherry Lieutenant Governor Kiran Bedi and actress Manisha Koirala were also present at Friday's inaugural session.
What is required is political will and administrative skill. That is the requirement of the hour. And once I can assure you, on behalf of my party, if once I get majority in Rajya Sabha, the Women's Reservation Bill will be passed at the earliest.
Well, the Nagaland government on Friday appealed to all the protesting tribal bodies to lift their indefinite shutdown. Well, the appeal came after the Naga tribal groups threatened to intensify their agitation after Chief Minister T.R. Zilling refused to give in to their demand for his resignation. Well, the protesting organizations had served a 3-day ultimatum to Zilling to step down following the government's decision to hold local body elections with 33% reservation for women. Now, 2 people were killed and dozens were injured following violence opposing that decision. Now, since the municipal elections were then declared null and void on Thursday, the government has urged the agitating groups to take up their offer for a dialogue on the issue. And Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar on Friday questioned the benefits of the steps taken by the centre on demonetization, changing his earlier stand on the issue. While slamming the note ban decision for the first time, he said it was done without preparation, and he accused the government and BJP of indulging in diversionary tactics by changing the narrative. He also asked Prime Minister Modi if the motive of bringing black money had in fact been achieved, and he called on the opposition to put up a united front against the ruling government. Kumar was participating in a panel discussion at former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram's book launch.
इसके बारे में अब तो ये पूछा ही जाना चाहिए कि भाई जो 50 दिन छोड़ दीजिए, अब 80 दिन से भी ज्यादा बीत गया, तो इससे कितना ब्लैक मनी बाहर है, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, आपका जो जितना भी करेंसी सर्कुलेशन में था, तो टोटल हाई डिनोमिनेशन का आपका 500 रुपए का, 1000 रुपए का कितने नोट सर्कुलेशन में थे, और इतने दिनों के बाद कितने वापस बैंकों में आ गए, और फिर जो फेक करेंसी थी उसका क्या हुआ?
And India's industrial production contracted by 0.4% in December 2016 on the back of demonetization of high-value currencies. In November, the index of industrial production, or the IIP, grew 5.7%. At that time, industrial production had bellied all the expectations of huge adverse impact of demonetization, with the index raising to a 3-month high. However, the impact of demonetization now can be seen in the December 2016 figures. Now, manufacturing, which constitutes 3/4 of the index, fell by 2% as compared to 5.5% in November. Electricity generation was up by 6.3% as against a 9% rise in November. Similarly, mining rose by 5.2% in December as against a 4% rise in the previous month. Let's get to some more news from across the nation in Nationwide. The death toll due to swine flu in Telangana has risen to 16 after a person succumbed to the virus on Friday. 76 samples were reportedly tested for swine flu on Friday, out of which 19 were found positive for the virus. The government declared that there are sufficient stocks of medicines and testing kits available in the state. As many as 47 people were injured during a Jallikattu event in Madurai's Palamedu district. Now, Palamedu hosted the bull taming sport after 2 years after a ban on the sport was lifted in January. A total of 850 bulls have reportedly been registered for the sport. On 5th of February, at least 37 bull tamers were injured in Madurai's Avanipuram during Jallikattu. Delhi Lieutenant Governor Anil Baijal has cleared the AAP government's proposal of setting up around 300 Mohalla clinics in the government-run schools. The LG, however, asked the party to take an NOC from the civic agencies in a bid to ensure that no laid-down rules of Education Act are flouted. BJP MP Subramaniam Swamy on Friday submitted a list of witnesses and other evidences before a Delhi court in the National Herald case filed by him against Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi and other Congress leaders. The list includes the name of 11 persons, including Congress Committee's General Secretary Janardhan Dwivedi. The next hearing will be on 25th of March. And Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari on Friday termed income inequality as one of the major risks threatening the cohesiveness of the country. Addressing the gathering in the Hindu group's first conclave in Bengaluru, the Vice President stressed that the concept of justice and fairness are tied to the idea of equality in development. He added that inequality also breeds economic inefficiency as well as limits productivity. The Vice President said that inequality has grown despite an increase in the number of people coming out of poverty.
Not surprising that reducing inequality is one of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. The richest 1% in India own nearly 60% of the country's total wealth, while the top 20% commanding 80% of the country's total wealth.
And on to some international news. And US President Donald Trump is considering issuing a new travel ban executive order on refugees and citizens from seven mainly Muslim countries, even as his old order flounders in the courts. Well, Trump on board Air Force One told reporters that he has no doubt that his administration will win legal challenges to his travel ban. However, he added that he was considering a brand new order that could be issued as soon as Monday or Tuesday. Well, Trump 2 weeks ago issued an executive order banning entry into the United States of refugees and citizens of 7 Muslim-majority countries, triggering nationwide protests and legal challenges. In fact, on Thursday, an appeals court had refused to reinstate the travel ban, saying that the administration had failed to offer any evidence to justify the ban, which the US president says is crucial to keep the country safe from terror attacks.
The unfortunate part is it takes time statutorily, so it takes a little time. We'll win that battle, but we also have a lot of other options, including just filing a brand new order on Monday. Could very well be, but I like to keep you, I'd like to surprise you. We need speed for reasons of security, so it could very well be that we do that.
Well, that's all in this edition of News Bulletin. Thanks for watching.